The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber sparkled like a universe of its own. Captain James Miller stood at the back of the hall, his dark blue Earth uniform making him stand out among the colorful robes of the alien representatives. His heart beat faster with each passing moment. Something wasn't right. He had come here expecting to witness Earth's first formal introduction to the galactic community. Instead, the whispers he caught made his blood run cold. The translator device in his ear couldn't catch everything, but words like contamination and unpredictable variables kept coming up. The council head, a tall being with silver skin that reflected the chamber's light, raised all four of their hands for silence. The quiet that fell was absolute. Miller could hear his own breathing, too loud in the stillness. "We gather today," the council head's voice boomed through the chamber, "to address the matter of Sol 3, designation, Earth. Our observers have reported disturbing findings." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. Miller recognized Earth, spinning slowly. Another image appeared beside it, a timeline of human history. This species has achieved in 10,000 years what takes others 100,000. They advance not in a straight line, but in chaotic bursts. They wage war and create art. They destroy and rebuild. They question everything. Miller felt a surge of pride, but it died quickly as he saw the faces of the council members. What he read there wasn't admiration, it was fear. A representative stood up, their scales shifting colors rapidly. "They've split the atom without achieving planetary unity. They've reached their moon while still burning fossil fuels. They create artificial intelligence while millions of their kind live in poverty. They're an anomaly." Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Miller wanted to speak up, to defend his species, but his observer status meant he had to remain silent. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. The council head nodded gravely. "Unlike every other species we guided, humans appeared and evolved on their own. No guidance, no control. Their path is unpredictable. Their potential." The being paused, all four hands spreading wide. "Unknowable. The last unguided species nearly destroyed this galaxy," someone shouted from the upper tiers. "We cannot risk another." Miller's translator caught fragments of hurried conversations. Extinction protocols. Cleansing. Final solutions. His mouth went dry. "We will now vote," the council head announced. The motion. The immediate extinction of species Sol 3, designation, Earth, for the safety and stability of the galaxy. Miller watched in horror as lights began appearing above each representative, bright green for approval. The chamber was turning into a sea of green lights. His fingers flew to his communicator, but it was dead. Of course, they would block communications during such a session. The council head's voice carried a note of finality. With a vote of 942 for, 3 abstaining, and 0 against, the motion passes. The extinction fleet will be dispatched immediately. Earth has been judged too dangerous to exist. Miller's mind raced. The extinction fleet. He'd read about it in the publicly available archives. No civilization had ever survived its deployment. Entire species erased from existence. As the chamber began to empty, Miller stood frozen in place. The council head passed by him, pausing briefly. "We regret this necessity, observer. Your kind showed promise, but the galaxy must be preserved." Miller waited until the chamber was almost empty before moving. His steps were measured, calm. He had to appear normal. But his mind was already racing through possibilities. The extinction fleet would take time to gather. Earth needed to know, had to be warned. As he walked toward his ship, his path was already set. He would break every galactic law necessary. Earth would have its chance to fight back. The galaxy had just signed an extinction order, but Miller knew something they didn't. Humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. He allowed himself a small smile. The council thought they knew everything about humanity. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Captain Miller's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside Earth's moon. His hand shook as he punched in the emergency broadcast codes. He had broken 17 galactic laws to get here faster, stealing experimental fuel cells and using forbidden jump routes. None of that mattered now. This is Captain James Miller, authentication code Alpha 7 Delta 9. I need to speak to the United Earth Council immediately. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The response came quickly. Captain Miller, you're 3 months early from your diplomatic mission. Please explain your emergency. The galaxy just voted to kill us all, he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I need to speak to everyone who matters. Now. The next 2 hours passed in a blur. His ship was escorted to a secure facility in Geneva, where the United Earth Council gathered in an emergency session. Military leaders, politicians, and scientists filled the room. The air was thick with tension. Miller stood before them, his uniform wrinkled from his desperate journey. 18 months, he began. That's how long we have before the extinction fleet arrives. The Galactic Council has deemed us too unpredictable to exist. The room erupted in chaos. General Thompson slammed his fist on the table. This is an act of war. No, Miller corrected. This is pest control. In their eyes, we're not even worth declaring war on. They've done this before, hundreds of times. No species has ever survived the extinction fleet. President Roberts stood up slowly. Her face was pale but determined. Then we'll be the first. Captain, tell us everything you know about this fleet. Miller connected his data pad to the room's display system. I managed to download some restricted files before I left. The fleet is massive. Over 10,000 ships. They use standardized weapons designed to eliminate all life on a planet while preserving its resources. The room grew quiet as images of previous extinctions played on the screen. Whole worlds turned to ash in seconds. But we have 2 advantages, Miller continued. First, they're arrogant. They've never failed, so they don't expect resistance. Second, they don't understand us. They think we're primitive because we didn't follow their normal path of development. Dr. Mary Baker, head of Earth's Science Council, spoke up. What do you mean by normal path? Every other species was guided by them. Their development was controlled, predictable. We're the first truly independent species they found in 50,000 years. That's why they fear us. President Roberts took control of the meeting. We need to unite the planet. All resources, all minds, focused on survival. No more borders, no more politics, just survival. For the first time in human history, every nation agreed without argument. Within hours, the Emergency Earth Defense Act was signed by all 196 countries. The next day, as Miller watched from the council chamber window, the world changed. Schools were converted into research centers. Factories retooled for defense production. Underground cities began construction. The asteroid belt became a military zone. Will it be enough? President Roberts asked, standing beside him. Miller thought about the fear he'd seen in the alien council members' eyes. They're afraid of us because we're unpredictable. So let's show them why. We have 18 months to turn our whole solar system into a trap. Let's give them a fight they'll never forget. Around the world, humanity prepared. Children were moved to underground shelters. Scientists worked around the clock. The military trained for scenarios they never imagined possible. But most importantly, humanity did what it had always done best. It adapted. The galaxy had meant to frighten them into submission with this death sentence. Instead, it had united them like never before. As Miller watched Earth transform day by day, he smiled. The extinction fleet was coming to destroy humanity. But humanity had other plans. The galaxy was about to learn why you should never corner a species that had survived its own worst impulses for thousands of years. The warning had been delivered. Now the real work would begin. Professor Anna Thompson stared at the alien technology samples spread across her lab table. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she couldn't stop now. Not when she was so close to finding something important. Running test number 47, she said into her recorder. The captured alien devices hummed as she activated them. The energy readings appeared on her screen, and suddenly she sat up straight. Wait a minute. She ran the test again. And again. Each time, the same pattern appeared. Her hand shook as she reached for the emergency phone. "Get me Admiral Stone," she said. "I found their weakness." Across the solar system, humanity was transforming itself. The asteroid belt had become a maze of automated defense platforms, each one hiding inside a hollow rock, waiting. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of Earth's newest warship, watching the construction through the viewport. "Professor Thompson has confirmed it," his aide reported. "Every piece of alien technology uses the same energy frequency. Their entire civilization is standardized." Stone nodded. It made sense. A culture obsessed with control would standardize everything. And that's their weakness. They've never needed to adapt. Send the frequency data to all defense platforms. I want our weapons calibrated to disrupt their systems. The aide hesitated. "Sir, the civilian evacuation numbers." "Give me the bad news. We can only get 30% of the population underground in time. The shelters won't be finished before the fleet arrives." Stone's jaw tightened. "Then we better make sure those defense platforms work. I won't lose 70% of humanity." In Geneva, Captain Miller walked through the new command center built deep underground. Screens covered every wall, showing the transformation of their solar system. Mars was now ringed with weapon satellites. Venus hosted radar stations hidden in its thick clouds. Even Mercury had been turned into a massive solar energy collector to power their defenses. "It's impressive," President Roberts said, joining him. "But will it be enough?" Miller pointed to a screen showing Professor Thompson's lab. "Anna thinks so. The aliens made a mistake. They've used the same technology for so long, they forgot how to innovate. But that's all we do." In her lab, Anna worked with teams around the world to mass-produce her disruption device. The concept was simple: hit their standardized technology with the exact opposite frequency, like noise-canceling headphones, but for spaceships. "The test results are clear," she explained to the global science team. "Their shields will drop. Their weapons will fail. Their ships will drift helpless in space. We just have to survive their first attack." Underground, new cities grew. Farms using artificial light spread through massive caverns. Schools continued in reinforced bunkers. Life adapted, as it always had. Admiral Stone received daily reports of the defense network's progress. Millions of automated platforms now filled the asteroid belt, each one powered by stolen alien technology. Earth's surface bristled with hidden weapon batteries. The moon had been hollowed out into a fortress. "Final test complete," his systems officer reported. "The disruption field works. We can shut down their tech within a 5,000-kilometer radius." Stone allowed himself a small smile. "How many generators do we have?" 10,000, sir, spread throughout the system. It wouldn't be enough to stop the whole fleet at once, but it would be enough to create chaos. And in chaos, humanity thrived. In the last days before the fleet's arrival, humanity finished its preparations. They had done in 18 months what the aliens thought impossible. They had turned their whole solar system into a weapon. Professor Thompson looked at her final readings and nodded to herself. The aliens thought they were coming to exterminate a primitive species. Instead, they were flying into the most sophisticated trap ever built. Now all they could do was wait and hope that humanity's greatest strengths, creativity, adaptability, and the sheer stubborn will to survive, would be enough to overcome an enemy that had never known defeat. High Executor Smith stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his fleet exited faster than light travel. The name Smith wasn't his real name. He had chosen it to mock the humans after studying their cultures. A simple name for a simple species that would soon be erased. "Status report," he commanded, his translator converting his words to the standard galactic language. 10,000 ships in formation. High Executor. All weapons charge. Earth's solar system is just ahead. Smith allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be like all the other extinctions. Quick, clean, and absolute. His fleet had never failed. The first sign that something was wrong came when they reached Pluto's orbit. Their long-range scanners detected nothing. No radio signals, no space traffic, no signs of the primitive civilization they had come to destroy. Curious, Smith said. Scan deeper. Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. A massive energy spike appeared from behind Pluto. Before Smith could react, a wall of concentrated solar energy, collected and stored by Mercury for months, swept through space. 300 alien ships vanished in the first second. Impossible. Smith grabbed his command console. They're supposed to be primitive. Launch fighters. Full shields. But Earth wasn't done. As the alien fleet pushed forward, they entered the asteroid belt. What looked like dead rocks suddenly came alive. Thousands of automated defense platforms emerged, each one targeting a different ship. "Sir," his tactical officer shouted, "the asteroids, they're using our own weapon designs against us." Smith's mind raced. How had they reversed engineered advanced technology so quickly? The Council had been right. These humans were dangerously unpredictable. In the underground command center on Earth, Admiral Stone watched the battle unfold. "Status report. First wave successful," his officer replied. "Enemy fleet is scattered. They're trying to regroup near Mars." "Perfect." Stone pressed a button on his command chair. "Professor Thompson, they're in position. Show them your surprise." Across the solar system, hidden generators activated. The frequency disruption field that Professor Thompson had discovered spread through space like an invisible wave. On the alien flagship, Smith watched in horror as his systems began to fail. Shields flickered and died. Weapons lost power. Communication screens went dark. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Our technology. It's being disrupted. The humans found our standardized frequency." For the first time in his long career, Smith felt fear. No species had ever fought back like this. No extinction had ever failed. Earth's forces pressed their advantage. Hidden bases on Mars launched missiles at the disabled ships. The moon's surface opened to reveal massive rail guns, firing rounds at near-light speed through the alien fleet. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "we've lost 3,000 ships. We can't maintain formation." The humans, they're everywhere. Smith stared at the tactical display, watching his perfect fleet fall into chaos. The humans hadn't just prepared defenses, they had turned their entire solar system into a weapon. In Geneva, Captain Miller stood beside President Roberts, watching the battle. "They never expected this," he said quietly. "They thought we would be easy prey." Roberts nodded. How many times in our history have empires fallen because they underestimated their opponents? The alien fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's defenses had been carefully planned. Every retreat route led to another trap. Every safe zone contained hidden weapons. "High Executor," Smith's tactical officer called out, "we need to retreat. We've never faced resistance like this." Smith stood frozen, watching his extinction fleet being decimated by a species that shouldn't have been able to fight back at all. The Council had been right about one thing: humans were dangerous. But they had been dangerous in a way no one expected. They hadn't just prepared to survive, they had prepared to win. The galaxy's perfect extinction record was about to be broken. High Executor Smith stood among the wreckage of his command center, his silver uniform stained with hydraulic fluid from damaged systems. The first battle had been a disaster. 3,000 ships lost to a species that shouldn't have been able to fight back at all. "Bring up the planet-killer weapons," he ordered. His voice was cold. "If they want to play with advanced technology, let's show them what real power looks like." Deep in Earth's underground command center, Admiral Stone watched as massive objects emerged from the surviving alien ships. Each one was the size of a small moon, their surfaces gleaming with deadly purpose. "What are those?" President Roberts asked, her face pale in the blue light of the tactical screens. Professor Thompson rushed into the room, her tablet displaying urgent readings. "They're planet killers, designed to crack a world apart at its core. Our defenses won't stop those." Captain Miller stepped forward. "But your frequency disruptor will, won't it?" Thompson nodded slowly. "Yes, but we'll need to get much closer. These devices are too big, too powerful. We need to hit them with everything we have. Point-blank range." Admiral Stone's face hardened. "Then that's what we'll do." He pressed the command channel button. "All ships, this is Stone. Prepare for Operation Thunderbolt." Across the solar system, Earth's hidden fleet emerged. Not the automated platforms that had fought the first battle, but real ships with real crews. They had been waiting, watching, learning how the aliens fought. Smith watched the human ships approach with a smile. Predictable. They think their numbers will save them. Charge the planet killers. The massive weapons began to glow with terrible energy. Each one could destroy a world. Earth had nowhere to run. But running wasn't the plan. "Now," Stone commanded. Every human ship activated their frequency disruptors at once. The energy wave hit the alien fleet like an invisible tsunami. The planet killers, built with the same standardized technology as everything else, began to fail. "No." Smith slammed his fist on his dead console. "This isn't possible." "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "the planet killers are overloading. Their containment fields are failing." Thompson watched from Earth as her theory proved correct. "The bigger they are, the harder they fall," she whispered. "Those weapons have so much power, and now they have no way to control it." The first planet killer exploded, taking out hundreds of alien ships with it. Then another, and another. The aliens had brought their most powerful weapons, only to have them turned into massive bombs. "All ships, clear the blast radius," Stone ordered. "Let their own weapons do the work for us." Smith watched his mighty fleet torn apart by its own technology. Everything they had built, every standardized system perfected over millions of years, was being used against them. These humans hadn't just prepared for battle. They had understood their enemy's weakness better than the enemy did. In Geneva, President Roberts turned to Miller. "Will they retreat?" Miller shook his head. "They've never failed before. They don't know how to retreat. That's the problem with a perfect record. You never learn how to handle defeat." The final planet killer detonated, its explosion lighting up the solar system like a new sun. When the light faded, less than 1,000 alien ships remained from the original 10,000. Stone looked at his tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Status report. Enemy fleet is in chaos, sir. Their command structure is broken. Their weapons are dead. They're running." For the first time in galactic history, an extinction fleet was failing. The humans hadn't just survived. They had shattered the myth of alien invincibility. Thompson looked at her readings one last time. They thought standardization made them strong, but they forgot the most important rule of nature. "What's that?" Roberts asked. "Adapt or die. We've been doing it for millions of years." They never had to learn. Professor Thompson stood in the captured alien flagship's data center, her fingers flying over the holographic controls. Captain Miller watched as streams of alien text flowed across the screens. "Can you read any of it?" he asked. "Their translation matrix was damaged in the battle, but it's giving us enough," she replied, her eyes never leaving the screen. "And what I'm finding, James, it's incredible." The ship they had captured belonged to High Executor Smith himself. When his fleet retreated, his flagship had been disabled by the frequency disruptors. Now it was Earth's greatest prize, a library of galactic secrets. "Look at this," Thompson pointed to a series of images. "Every species they've guided, every civilization they've shaped. It's all here." Miller leaned closer. Why did they do it? Why control everyone? Because of what happened before. Thompson pulled up an ancient file. There was a species, millions of years ago. They evolved naturally, like us. They nearly destroyed the galaxy in a war that lasted 10,000 years. In the ship's command center, Admiral Stone and President Roberts watched as more data poured in. The story of the galaxy unfolded before them. After that war, Thompson's voice came through the speakers. The survivors formed the council. They decided that controlled evolution was safer. They would find primitive species and guide them, make them predictable, safe. And it worked, Miller added. For millions of years, every species followed the same path, built the same technology, fought the same ways. Roberts shook her head. Until us. Exactly. Thompson pulled up more files. We were an accident. They didn't find Earth until we were already advancing. By then, it was too late to guide us. We were too random. On the screens, humanity's history played out. The Council had watched as humans jumped from discovery to discovery, not in the careful, planned steps of other species, but in wild leaps and sudden breakthroughs. They were terrified of us, Stone said quietly. Not because we were dangerous, but because we were different. Different is dangerous to them, Thompson replied. Look at their society. Everything standardized, everything controlled. No variations, no changes, no chaos. And then they found us. Miller watched recordings of council meetings about Earth. Their fear was obvious now. Humanity didn't follow the rules, didn't develop in straight lines, created art alongside weapons, wrote poetry while splitting atoms. We weren't supposed to exist, he said. A species that evolved without their control. It went against everything they believed in. And now we've proved their worst fears right, Roberts added. We took their perfect weapons and turned them against them. We did what no guided species could do. We adapted. Thompson found another file, and her breath caught. Oh, this is why they really wanted us gone. Look at what their scientists predicted. The data showed simulation after simulation. Each one showed the same thing. Other species watching Earth, learning from Earth, beginning to question the Council's control. We're not just different, Miller realized. We're contagious. Our way of thinking, our creativity, our freedom, it spreads. Stone nodded slowly. Every controlled species that looks at us sees another way to live. We're not just a threat to their power. We're a threat to their whole system. Their perfect, predictable galaxy, Roberts said, undone by one random species that escaped their notice for too long. Thompson turned from the screens. So what do we do with this knowledge? We've beaten their extinction fleet, but there's a whole galaxy out there, filled with species who've never known true freedom. Miller looked at the star map floating in the center of the room. Thousands of worlds, all living under the Council's control, all following the same path, building the same things, thinking the same thoughts. We show them another way, he said quietly. That's what scares the Council most, isn't it? That given the chance, others might choose to be like us. Free, unpredictable, alive. The crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber looked different now. Captain Miller stood at the front this time, not hidden in the back. The Earth delegation walked with confidence through the halls where their extinction had been ordered just months ago. The council members whispered as Miller passed. Some touched their weapons, others simply stared. The failed extinction fleet had shattered their perfect record and their perfect confidence. The human delegation may approach, the council had announced. Their silver skin didn't shine as brightly as before. Defeat had dulled its gleam. Miller took his place at the speaker's platform. Admiral Stone and Professor Thompson stood beside him, while President Roberts waited in the gallery. They had chosen this team carefully. The witness, the warrior, and the scientist who had turned the aliens' weapons against them. 3 months ago, Miller began, this council ordered humanity's extinction. Today, we're here to give our response. The chamber grew silent. The council members expected revenge. It's what their simulations predicted. It's what they would have done. We've studied your records, Miller continued. We've seen how you guided species, controlled their evolution, made them copies of each other. You thought this was kindness, safety, protection. Thompson stepped forward, activating a hologram. It showed Earth's history, its wars, its disasters, its triumphs. You fear chaos, she said. You fear the unpredictable. But look at what that fear has cost the galaxy. Millions of years of stagnation. Countless species denied their true potential. The council head raised a hand. We prevented another great war. We maintained order. You prevented life. Stone countered. Real life isn't ordered. It's messy. It makes mistakes. It learns from them. That's how we beat your extinction fleet. We learned from every failure. When did your species last learn anything new? Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some council members looked thoughtful, others angry, but they all listened. We're not here for revenge, Miller said. We're here to offer a choice. Humanity will take responsibility for the species you've guided. We'll help them rediscover their creativity, their uniqueness, their ability to choose their own path. And if we refuse? The council head asked. Miller smiled. Then we'll do it anyway. You've seen what one unguided species can do against your best weapons. Imagine what will happen when others learn they have a choice. Professor Thompson activated another hologram, the frequency disruptor plans. Your standardized technology is a weakness now. You can't stop us from reaching other worlds. Can't stop us from showing them another way to live. This is rebellion, someone shouted. Chaos. This is freedom, President Roberts called from the gallery. Something you forgot long ago. Miller looked around the chamber. Earth remembers what you forgot. The galaxy doesn't belong to any one species. It doesn't need controllers or guides. It needs diversity, creativity, change. He pressed a button, and the chamber's screens lit up with images from Earth. Children playing, artists creating, scientists discovering, people living free. This is our response to your extinction order, Miller said. Not destruction, but creation. Not control, but choice. The age of the guided galaxy is over. The age of freedom begins. The council chambers erupted in debate. Some members stormed out. Others stayed, watching the images of Earth with wonder. A few even approached the Earth delegation, asking questions about freedom, about choice, about change. As Miller watched, he remembered standing in this same chamber, helpless, as Earth's death sentence was passed. Now he stood as Earth's ambassador, offering life instead of death, freedom instead of control. The galaxy had tried to exterminate humanity. Instead, humanity had given the galaxy its future back. Ready to get to work? Thompson asked him quietly. Miller nodded, looking at the stars visible through the crystal dome. Each one held worlds waiting to rediscover their own paths, their own dreams, their own futures. The hard part begins now, he said, teaching an entire galaxy how to be free.